Welcome everyone, and it is Wednesday, September 9th. I'm just gonna let that sink in for a second. It's September, viewers. I am shocked that it is September. And we are now live for Lunch with LeAnn with Christine Pisani. Christine, welcome to Lunch with LeAnn.
Thank you, LeAnn. Thank you for asking me. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, we're very excited.
Lauren.
Yes. And you see Lauren is here again, and she will be doing our interpretation for us. So welcome, Lauren, and thank you for joining us again. So Christine, this Lunch with LeAnn is designed for 10 to 15 minutes of pretty intense information, and we're just starting a conversation, getting information out to our wonderful viewers here on the Link Facebook page, as well as the Hands Around the Capitol 30-year celebration page. So really excited to have you here to talk with us about the great work you do every way professionally, but would love to start talking about lunch because I'm starving. So what are you having for lunch today, Christine?
Well, I have been working really hard to lose not only the COVID weight, but the pre-COVID weight. So I'm having a salad, hard-boiled eggs, tomatoes, some nuts, cucumber, kale, and lettuce.
That looks like a solid hard-boiled egg. Like you did a good job on that.
Yeah, I have to look up every time how to hard-boil an egg on the internet. I can never remember. Do I boil them for 12 minutes? Do I let them sit in cold water for 12 minutes? And anyway, somehow they turn out.
Well, it's impressive because I use my pressure cooker for my eggs. I'll send you that tutorial.
Please send me that. That's beautiful.
Yeah, so I'm having, this is brought to you by the Nayland Farms Garden. So we have some garden fresh tomatoes, which I love. And I'm having a taco salad with some lettuce from our garden.
I was gonna say, are those jalapenos on there?
They are not jalapenos, but I think I may add that.
That looks really good. Those tomatoes are gorgeous.
Thank you. We have 9 tomato plants. And I'm using my Greek ranch. So this is a shout out to my friend Siri, who loves the jalapeno Greek ranch too. So it's Greek yogurt. Yeah, Idaho made.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, well, fun facts, the things you learn on Lunch with LeAnn, Christine. So Christine, we love to talk about food and we're really excited to eat it, but I'm also even more excited to learn a little bit about your work that you do professionally. And you're with the Idaho Council on Developmental Disabilities. You are the executive director. Tell our audience a little bit about the council and what you guys work on.
Thank you, LeAnn. So the council is one of those state agencies that has been in existence here in Idaho since the early 80s. There is a council in every state and US territory. We are mandated in federal law and in state law. And the interesting thing about DD councils is that we don't provide services, we don't provide direct services, but we are responsible for the role of advocacy in our state and leadership development, and also what we call systems change, where we're promoting best practice, changes to services that might better serve individuals and families based on what individuals and families are saying. We're very much a person-centered, family-centered focus. And the other thing that we're charged with is capacity building. And capacity building can look a little bit different depending on what we're talking about. But just to give you an example of some of the things we've been doing capacity building in this last 5-year plan, we recognized about 10 years ago that people with intellectual and developmental disabilities who also experience a mental health disability were not being served all too well. So what we thought we would do is help mental health clinicians know how to better serve people with what we refer to as a dual diagnosis, a developmental disability and a mental health diagnosis. And so we started providing training that we did collaboratively with the Department of Health and Welfare and provided close to 200 mental health clinicians across the state on some unique skills that just really meet the needs of people with intellectual and developmental disabilities who have a mental health diagnosis. And so we're starting to learn from that training, and we're going to start surveying mental health clinicians, individuals, and families to learn what other training needs are needed to better meet the needs of this population, because the majority of people with intellectual and developmental disabilities do have a mental health diagnosis, and largely in our state, it's unmet and unserved. So that's an example of capacity building. So our council works on a 5-year plan. So every 5 years, we're creating a new plan. We're collecting input on what are the needs in our state. And we're about ready to send out a survey in both English and Spanish to our rural counties, because we didn't hear from people in our rural counties as much as we would like to. And we really want to hear from people in our rural areas about what their needs are and where they think we should be working. So all of our work is based on the 5-year plan, and it is overseen by 23 members who are appointed by the governor. And those members hire and oversee me and could fire me. That's their prerogative. They oversee the work of the council. They oversee the budget. Their responsibility is pretty great, and they really drive what our work plan looks like. So they will see all of the input and determine what the next 5-year plan looks like. And that's the work of the council.
And so that input is really critical that you're asking for from rural community members.
Yes, it is critical. And especially, I think we've all learned about the need for access to technology, and whether that means that I don't have internet, stable internet in my community, if I have a cell phone tower in my area, and even if I do have access to a computer, do I need support to use that technology to maybe get onto a webinar? So we're going to be asking questions like that. And of course, our biggest need is from families and individuals. We really want to hear from individuals and families, because they are the voice that really drives the work of councils.
Yeah. And this is really an effort, nothing about us without us, right? This is very much an independent living philosophy. And, you know, we want to make sure that our voices are heard, because we can collaborate better when we have all the voices at the table of impact. And we have found that we don't always have all the voices. So your work and efforts are getting out there. What are some other really unique or fun collaborations that you and the DD Council, which, by the way, I should note for viewers, when we talk about the Idaho Council on Developmental Disabilities, we are also referring to it as the DD Council. So just so you know, those two go back and forth. And so what are some other collaborations or partnerships or other folks that you work with or organizations on the great work you do?
So one of our larger collaborations has to do with a lawsuit that happened called the KW versus Armstrong lawsuit. And just for your viewers, KW stands for an adult who was in the Adult Developmental Disability Waiver Program. Those are his initials. And Armstrong was the last name of the Department of Health and Welfare's director's name at the time the lawsuit was filed, just so people understand the KW versus Armstrong. At the time the lawsuit was filed by Richie Epping, he was working for Idaho Legal Aid at the time. And he later moved to the American Civil Liberties Union, or the ACLU. And when that lawsuit was settled, it was an issue. There were many issues involved with the Adult Developmental Disability Waiver Program, but the main issue had to do with the transparency of the way budgets were being set for individuals at the Department of Health and Welfare. The department lost that lawsuit, and out of that was a settlement. And one of the things that the department agreed to do was to really access the voices of the community for people who have lived experience with intellectual and developmental disabilities and their families to help drive the work of the settlement. And so I thought, you know what, we are in a perfect position to help with this because of the many relationships and longstanding relationships we have with individuals and families statewide. So I went to the department and I said, I think that we can help you. And we can help you because we will bring people together that can help inform you about a service system that truly meets their needs, because they're the ones living the experience and will best know what's needed, what's not so useful, and really help you drive what the system looks like. So the lawsuit was settled in the fall of 2016, and on January 4th, 2017, which also happened to be an abysmal day for snow, was our first face-to-face meeting of Community Now, which included the majority of people involved are individuals with intellectual and developmental disabilities and family members, but we also had service providers. We had the ACLU represented. We have the Department of Health and Welfare represented. We have the Division of Oak Rehab represented, as well as the attorney for the Department of Health and Welfare. So we have about 60 to 70 people involved. And we spent the whole first year just developing 17 recommendations. And once we had collected as much information as we could from the group, we decided to take the show on the road. And we did a statewide tour of Community Now and met with communities of families and individuals to learn what their needs were. And it was so amazing to connect with people in Grangeville and in Sandpoint and in Orphe. I mean, just because you learn different things in rural parts of our state, which is why our survey is so important to us, to learn about the needs of people in our rural areas. And all of those pieces of information became this report with 17 recommendations that then Community Now members, families, and individuals presented to the leadership of the Department of Health and Welfare. From there, the department has begun to take on work of 4 of those recommendations, and we continue to meet. And then we had an opportunity the following year to apply for a federal grant, which our Center on Disabilities and Human Development at the University of Idaho, they took leadership on that, and we all contributed based on the work of Community Now. So we were shocked because we only had about 3 weeks to get this grant in. We were funded out of 5 additional states that got this federal grant. It's a large federal grant over 5 years. And that has allowed us to do things like work on direct support professional issues, to work on abuse and neglect, and trying to create a reporting and monitoring system that's accountable to people with disabilities. We are also working on person-centered planning and creating a person-centered system that really puts people in the driver's seat so that they're truly controlling what their day looks like and how services support them to live their life as they define it. So it's been some really exciting systems change work, but it's also been so exciting because of the individual leadership that individuals from all over our state and families have taken, and their voice is being heard. And it's changed the hearts and minds of people within the Department of Health and Welfare to be able to sit with individuals and families and to learn about their day-to-day life and what their lived experience looks like. And I think it's been extraordinary collaboration, and we have the commitment of the Department of Health and Welfare to support this as an ongoing project because of the reciprocal relationship that we've now developed, and just the tremendous things that are happening in order to just improve the service system for individuals and families with them driving it. And that's like the role of the council, is to support people to lead. And it's been beautiful to watch it happen.
Yeah, and we have a few minutes left, but you're talking about leadership, and a lot of times in leadership there's calls to action or things that people can do. So Christine, what is something that our viewers might be able to do that's relevant or important in our current situation we find ourselves in? What are some calls to what's a call to action you can give our audience, Christine?
So one of the things that the council is concerned about is for those of you who had any opportunity to witness the special session that happened a couple of weeks ago, some of the concerns that we have are when the regular session begins in January, will there be a safe space provided for people who have compromised health conditions and their family members to also have an equal voice in the many important issues that will be heard in our legislative session? And I think one of the things that people could start doing right now, which is something we're going to start supporting individuals and families to do, is to host Zoom meetings with their legislators to help them understand that they're maybe concerned about how the legislative session is going to work. How can my voice be heard? How will the legislature assure my safety in creating a safe space with social distancing so that my voice can be heard on important issues? And what assurance can you give me, Idaho legislature, that I will be welcomed into this space as well? So I think that's one of our bigger concerns. And every year there are issues that people with disabilities and families must weigh in on, because the lived experience is so much more important to hear about than if I was to stand up and talk about it, because it means so much more, especially if you're talking to a legislator that represents you. They care more about what you have to say than somebody who lives in Ada County that's representing the council. Your voice is just critical to these things, but also in these times, just to assure that your safety is met and that there will be space made available, that people with intellectual and developmental disabilities have compromised health conditions, and families must be concerned about protecting that. So how are we going to assure everyone's safety and that they feel welcome in the people's house?
Yeah, it is the people's house.
Mm-hmm.
So that is important. So Christine, in our last 3 minutes, and we're a little bit over, but we try to leave these no longer than 20 minutes. So we're very excited to hear, what does the ADA mean to you, Christine?
Well, I have a personal connection to the ADA because I got to experience the benefits of the ADA about 5 years ago. I was having the best day on President's Day skiing on Brundage, and I had a yard sale on Celebration Way, and I broke my right leg in 5 places. And so I had to be in a wheelchair for about 6 months. I had the benefit of having Link provide a ramp to my house so that I could get in and out of my house, which was a service that was just indescribably helpful. They also provided me a motorized wheelchair and a manual chair, so I could have a motorized chair at work and go to the legislative session in my motorized chair, and experience what it's like to have a physical disability, and how doors don't open automatically, and trying to open 2 double doors with a leg on a outstretched holding device and propel my wheelchair through. I mean, it was a huge learning experience. And without the ADA, I don't think I would have been able to go to the legislature and do the work that I do without the Americans with Disabilities Act. The other fun connection that's happened is we've been distributing t-shirts about the ADA. And our colleagues in the state of Kentucky saw this post on our Facebook page and they wanted to get in on the act. So we have sent 100 or so t-shirts their way, and they're getting those out to their families and individuals and sending pictures back to us in celebration of the ADA. And it's just been a lot of fun because it really does connect us, because disability is part of all of us. I mean, it's either us, ourselves, a family member, or it's going to be, it's going to be us someday. So it's just been a beautiful connection to be able to share that, and people being so excited about sharing the t-shirts and just their lived experience about the ADA. It's been fun to read the stories.
Yes, it has been fun. So we hope you're checking those out on the 30-year ADA Facebook page, but also on the council's Facebook page. And Link will be sharing those. But that t-shirt challenge it's a fun one to hear those stories. So that's
Really
great,
fun.
Christine. I want to thank you for your time today. I could take a whole lunch hour to visit with you. And I appreciate the work of the council, the collaboration that you all do, the bringing together of voices, and not just organizations, but individuals. And so we appreciate you from the independent living standpoint for all the great work that the council supports in those efforts. So thank you guys. And
Yeah.
yeah, and any last minute fun little, did we cover everything in the 15 minutes that would allow us to cover it in 21 minutes?
Oh my gosh, no, just like I could just talk forever about the council, and I have to just give a shout out. I have worked with the best people. I have the best staff. They are so committed and so hardworking, and they work with a sense of urgency about, these are people's lives that we're talking about. So I just have to give tremendous kudos to all the people that I get to work with every day, and the work that they do. And Idaho's a special place. We have some amazing people doing amazing work every day with people with disabilities and families. And I just feel like we're really fortunate here in Idaho to have the relationships that we have. We're small, but we get mighty things done. So I have to say that I'm real proud of Idaho.
Oh, that's perfect. And we're going to end lunch with LeAnn on that awesome Proud of Idaho council statement from Christine. We'll see you next week at noon, where we have Eric Schmidt, who will be joining us as well. And he and his company are sponsors of the 30-year celebration too. So we look forward to that. Thank you, Christine.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
Lauren.
Thank you, Lauren.
Thank you, viewers. We'll see you next week.
Bye-bye. Thanks, LeAnn.